I want to thank the Hawaiian Mission Houses, of course. In a time when creating access to materials is really unfolding, the Hawaiian Mission Houses has really been a bright light in trying to keep that wonderful collection as accessible as possible and learning new ways to do it. So this is a piece of that. I'm Puakea Nogelmeier. If we haven't already met, I'm sure I said hello to half the audience on my way in. We have a translation project. This actually was spawned by another translation project that we had launched with OHA. I wanted to look, and it was just a brainstorm. As these pieces of historical materials come forth, it just keeps sort of building, we're sort of repaving a foundation. And so we work so much with the newspapers, and that's not the only source of knowledge, of course, and so I wanted just to look at the letters of the Ali'i from 1820 to 1840. And my brainstorm there was that we've given a new technology to a people in 1820, reading and writing. We didn't make them smarter. We just gave them a new place to put themselves. It would be like looking at the first 20 years of us having email. What did we do with that? Really, I mean, think of it, it's a good analogy. What did we do with that? What piece of our life did we document there? And so that's what I was sort of launching, and we were just really starting that up, and Tom called me in and said, wait, I talked to you, we want our letters translated. And so this was spawned to do all of this, because this is a very different project. This is the idea of, this is the interaction between the chiefs and the missionaries. And that has been, I think, over 200 years of, and it's almost 200 years, it's 5 years away. 200 years of history has sort of become a blur. And people tend to think missionaries got off the boat barking orders and everybody jumped and look how all the change happened. And that was such a negotiated space. And that first 5 or 10 years is a remarkable set of interchanges on a personal level. And only the letters could really give us that. Journals give a piece, they always give, one side of it. Letters are an interchange. And so this really has been a wonderful window. But so we agreed to do it because I said, well, I could do that. I could probably do that in a year or so, but I won't. Because I'm sort of an oddity in my world. I'm a Hawaiian language prof, right? But I actually learned Hawaiian through translation in a lot of ways. And so I've been translating the whole time that I was learning Hawaiian. In a time, the revitalization movement spurned translation. It was the enemy. Really, if I want you to understand this letter, learn Hawaiian. This just makes sense, doesn't it? So I kept doing translation through that whole time. So I have 40 years of sort of experience in that field. And then in the last 10 years, really the access to resources has exploded. What I was working with was a fraction. It was a splinter. In the last 15 years, we've multiplied what is at hand by 100-fold, maybe 1,000-fold. We're now looking at more material than I could play with in 15 lifetimes with all my students. So it's so exciting that I stopped doing translation unless I'm training young people. Because the stuff that's opening up is not what we're teaching in the school. And it's not what our most skilled students are learning. So now how do we bridge them to this material so that it becomes real comfortable? I have fun here. It's not even a challenge oftentimes, it's just a place to play. How do I get the new scholars into that position? That's what I'm doing. So I talked to Tom about, I will do it as a training project. So, which ups the cost, ups the time, but it also ups the product. Because if it's a translation project, you give me 500 pages of letters, I give you back translations for all of that, we're done. That's not the way it worked. We picked, he worked with Atherton, thank you Atherton, to fund 2 bright young people, and I had 2 masters already, they have masters in Hawaiian language, and I solicited Hina Nubel and John Yasuda. If you can stand up and show them who you are, you are. Already both bright packages, both with the masters, already teaching. John teaches at Punaho, and John can't be here today, and I'm sorry he can't. But, they're out there, they're in the field. But this offers a chance to build a skill set. So we launched, And then we added another character, and this was a brand new thing for me. In my world, I have a godson who was a bright young light, and he wanted to be involved in he likes our projects. So he said, well, we'll watch for one that you can shadow. So we brought him in at 15 years old. He's a Hawaiian immersion student, so he's very, very fluent, and he's very smart. He's just not knowledgeable. I mean, how can you get exposed to this material when you're in 10th grade, right? So we brought Hilinai Saidutwa, and if you would now stand up. He was 15 months. He was shorter than me too when we started. So this is moving fast. But it went so well as a shadow. He jumped in with John and Hina and took assignments every week, and he did the job. And so we created a brand new thing. We take Hina and John in as interns, and we turned him into a student intern. It's a brand new idea. I don't even do well with teenagers usually. But my board allowed this to be added into the mix, and so we brought it. Now we had a team of 3. Now the original project that I was doing, I actually had another character who was he was helping me with the project. He was an intern sort of there, and he was all around. So he was the file master on this, and we pulled him in to be in this team too. So Kaliko Aloha Marte. We had a team of 4, and he's still the file master and translator, editor, whatever. So the product that we turned that for, and all the numbers are going to shift. And my own board has gone, wait, I thought this was 225 letters. Now you're saying it's 190. Now it's 207. Things go in flux because a letter, when we actually get to it, might be 3 letters on a single scan. Or, a part of a letter that actually matches another one. So, John Barker, myself, Kaliko, we play files. That's a whole other issue. But I do have, I don't have a lot of letters I want to show you because you'll see them all online in a month. How cool is that? One of these goes forward. Some of these are ugly. That's a letter. Okay? And that's another letter. Same man. Charles Kanehina, you might know him, father of William Charles Lunalilo. These are both letters. They end up looking like this for either the visually impaired or the language impaired. So this actually it's got the metadata on top. It's got a summary of what it's about. We typescript the Hawaiian. We then translate it out and we annotate it. That's the format that it'll go in. These aren't citations. These are just annotations. We're not going to tell you all about Charles Kanehina's life. We're just going to tell you how to find him, who he is and how to find him. Some of them are actually still kind of ugly, but not as ugly, but they're meaty. This is actually, which one is this? John Papa AE. And this idiosyncratic handwriting. Now remember that paper has to be shipped in from afar, so if you make an error while you're writing, you scratch it out. You don't start up with a new page, right? His language is also very idiosyncratic, right? I love that. But this talks about an event that we've never heard about. It's not in my history book, and so we have to go find it. It's a very detailed account of an attack by a bunch of drunk sailors on Bingham's house. We know it's Reginald. Bingham probably put it in his journal, but we had to sort of build the context as translating the letter. And it goes on and on. He had a lot to say. Yeah, so John Papa, he's actually, and he's a prolific letter writer, by the way. And then some of them are actually pretty and very touching. This is a lovely letter by a woman who has actually very beautiful handwriting. This doesn't show it off. But it's a very heartfelt account of the success of Christianity in her kingdom. And you can make it out on the bottom. That's the writing of Elizabeth Ka'ahuma, and it's the year before she died. So we get sucked into these on language, on content, and just on the touch with history. It's really an important kind of piece. Well, we started this, we take them through translation theory so that we know they all know why we're translating the way we are translating, because there's many ways you can translate. Every week, the 4 of them are assigned 1 or 2 or 3 letters. They come back to that with a draft, and that's what's in your program, is the draft they come back with. We then, all 4 of us, and that's why we pulled Kaliko into this, because as a file master, he was missing the dialogue. We meet for 5 hours every Thursday, and they work 10 hours outside of that doing their translation so that it's ready when they sit down. We sit down at it and we go line by line, making out the words, making sure that Hawaiian typescript is as good as we can get. And it's rare that we can't figure out what that is. And I'm proud of them for their good eyes and their expanded. You almost have to do that kind of fuzzy logic to figure out what has to be there. And then once you see it, you know, it's there. So we do a group review, group annotation as well. So we get a chance to talk about the historical setting, how do these folks fit in? And then that becomes a final review. We send it in, and that is what will go up on the web. But each of those letters has had these 15-hour commitments every week from these kids, and a 5-hour session with me. And I'm not nearly as genial there as I am. I'm actually very affable in public. Wouldn't you all agree? You'd best. But I'm delighted that we did this work. I'm delighted because our product now is the 200+ letters, and it's accessible now to an English and a Hawaiian speaking audience. And it makes it more accessible even for those who already could speak Hawaiian, because it takes away that whole fumbling through bad writing, and we've actually done some of that. But my best product of this is for bright young people who can do this on their own. Can you stand up again just so that they can look at you? And I didn't mention the technical side of this is that one of our people is on Maui, and the other one is in Pane'ewa. So this is done via Skype. Of course, Pane'ewa just happened a couple of weeks ago. We're still reeling from the technical and difficulties here. But so all of this is done inter-island. So it's a huge project. But this opportunity to have this presented to you and to the world through the eyes, the people that did this panel today, that agreed to come to this, are all researchers and doers in their own right. And I'm delighted that they would even look at our work and have a word about it. So our panel, I'm going to introduce each one of them, but then they're going to speak for however long they want to speak. And after each one of them, if there's a particular question to that person, we can spend some time there. But then at the end of the panel, we'll have some time for general questions on the project, the work, the directions, the future, what we're doing. But we have Kalei Laimana from Leeward Community College. We have Alohalani Brown, who's up at UH. I'm just going to quickly introduce them. They'll say more about themselves. But you can clap for each one. Kalei Laimana. Dr. Alohalani Brown. All of these kids, these are kids. But all of these people are leaders in their own field. Who's on the far side? Oh, Ron Williams. I can't see right who is heading a brand new program teaching our grad students how to write Hawaiian history with real materials and how to write the story. History is today too, so there's that. And Kapali Lyon is Is that enough to say? Let's just fire off. Let's give you a chance. Kalei?